Hello and welcome. My name is Jeffrey Kennedy and welcome to another episode of Elliott Wave Junctures. The last few days in Elliott Wave Junctures we've examined the flat correction. As you know, with respect to the wave principle, there are three types of corrective wave patterns: zigzags, flats, and triangles. The last few days we've examined the flat correction and a variation of the flat correction called an expanded flat. Now, flat correction is identified as a 3-3-5 pattern, and the reason why is because wave A subdivides into three waves, wave B subdivides into three waves, and wave C, as always, unfolds in five waves. Now, wave C can either be an impulse wave or an ending diagonal, but it will always subdivide into five waves. Now, with respect to a flat correction, the key characteristic, or the one thing to keep an eye out for, is that wave B ends at or near the origin of wave A. When wave B ends beyond the origin of wave A, the pattern is still a flat correction, but it's referred to as an expanded flat. Now, last week I spent some time actually talking about a head and shoulders pattern. This is an old school chart pattern that was popularized by Edwards and McGee. Okay, now that pattern actually consists of a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. Now what you can do next is take a trend line from the extremes or the lows of the bearish head and shoulders pattern, and that move right here, this trend line, is referred to as a neckline. Whenever the neckline is broken, you then perform what is referred to as a neckline measurement, which is simply taking the distance from the head to the neckline and projecting it, in this instance, downward from the breakout point. I like the head and shoulders pattern, and as I explain next week, it fits in very nicely with the wave principle and other forms of technical analysis. What I'd like to do today is actually combine the two and show you how it actually helps form a more confident opinion with respect to forecasting and or trading. Now here we have the SSO. This is the ProShares Ultra S&P 500 ETF. Notice with respect to the move up from this early April low right here, we have waves A, B, and C for A, and then we have another three-wave move, A, B, C for B, and notice that wave B ends at or near the origin of wave A. That's followed by a five-wave advance in wave C. That's the way to look at it, look at this pattern or look at this price action from an Elliott wave perspective. Now we can actually combine that with a head and shoulders. Notice that wave 3 of C is my left shoulder. We pull back in 4, push up to a new extreme. That's going to be the head of the head and shoulders pattern. We fall down. We have 2 points, thus we can draw our neckline. Take a parallel of the neckline off the left shoulder. That gives us resistance for the right shoulder. And then later on that day, we actually saw the break of the neckline, which then allowed us to actually take a neckline measurement, which projected prices all the way down to 55.25, which we easily achieved. This is how you can combine old school forms of technical analysis with the wave principle. Now, one of the reasons I'm bringing up the head and shoulders pattern, because it is one of my favorite patterns, and again, I believe it works out very well when utilized with the wave principle. Here's the head and shoulders pattern that we've been monitoring for some time in the euro. And what have we done recently? Well, we've seen a nice decisive break of the neckline. That being the case, we can now do our neckline measurement, which is again simply from the head to the neckline, measure that distance, and then project it from the breakdown point. Now, one thing to keep in mind as we move forward in time throughout the month of May and into June is that often whenever you have a trend line break, you have what in a downtrending market is what is referred to as a pullback. That's where you may go back up and test the trend line that you recently broke, and then that was going to lead for lower prices. Now, from an Elliott wave perspective, you can look at this as waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, to go back to actually talk about the SSO briefly one more time, I would like to show you one more price chart, and this is the kind of work I want to be doing with respect to Elliott Wave Junctures over the next few weeks and next few months, is also show you where, number one, here we had a nice Elliott Wave flat identification of the price action in SSO between, again, say early April and the 1st of May. We then see the head and shoulders pattern, but also too notice on the 60-minute price chart At the time the right shoulder was forming, we actually saw a dual bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. I like to combine different forms of technical analysis. I think it increases confidence in my analysis and my trading, and it actually goes along the lines of what I call evidence-based analysis or evidence-based trading. This is what we're going to be looking at as we move forward with respect to Elliott wave junctures, combining the wave principle with other forms of technical analysis.